Call your constructional abilities. That's perfect. Tell me everyone's name that you can remember.
Shirley Smith.
There is transportation also provided by Wheel-Trans. So
My name is Kathryn Decker, and I'm an occupational therapist in an outpatient brain injury clinic. Hi, I'm Kathryn.
Hi, Kathryn. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm the occupational therapist that you're going to be working with today.
Okay.
Do you want to come on into my office?
Sure.
For the most part, I see patients for an hour, and it's on a one-on-one basis. So anywhere between maybe 4 and 5 patients a day I would see. And then with those patients, I would do a variety of different things, sometimes in the clinic, and then sometimes we would go out into the community to practice skills in a more natural setting.
So I like to do assessment and treatment outside of the hospital and in the community as much as I can. And the reason for that is because all of our patients are outpatients, and so they're all living at home and in their own communities right now. And I find that by working with them in a more natural environment, like a coffee shop or the subway, I feel like I'm able to get a better picture of how they're actually going to function when they're out in the community and on their own.
Some of the challenges are here is that we're not a community-based clinic. We are a hospital-based clinic, and so while I do have some freedom and flexibility to treat people in the community context, a lot of our treatment does tend to be more hospital-based. And so depending on where the client is in their recovery phase, it would sort of dictate the type of treatment that I would do. For a client who's in the more acute phase of rehab, so their injury was probably more recent, I would take more of a remedial approach. So that would be like memory retraining exercises, attention, concentration exercises, and as much functional work as we can do in this context in the hospital. So we have a hospital kitchen where we may do some work. We may go to the cafeteria and practice working on cognitively demanding tasks in a distracting environment. All right, so here's what I'm going to get you to do. Now, I'm going to get you to read this article.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, afterwards, you're going to have to tell me how many ands there were and what the article was about. As the person progresses through the rehab phase, or they come to us later on in the rehab phase, I would likely take more of a compensatory approach to treatment. So that would be teaching more strategies on how to cope with changes to cognition. So it might be something like agenda use training, or helping someone to learn principles of energy conservation to better manage their time and energy. And then in that context as well, I would try to work with the person in our community as much as we can. So maybe using the subway system with them, or going to their workplace and speaking with their employer and finding out what sorts of things they're going to have to do. Hey guys.
Hey.
So I was thinking that we should probably discuss the discharge plan. I work on a team. So on the team, there's a speech pathologist, a rehab therapist, a psychologist, a social worker, and a physiotherapist. And so I also would meet with them on an almost daily basis to discuss our patients as well. I think one of the best parts of working in a hospital setting for me is that I get to work so closely with a team. Each person is typically working on similar goals with the clients, but each person has just a slightly different lens on how they treat that client. So the speech pathologist, for instance, might be interested in how the client is communicating. And I might be more interested in their ability to remember information and pay attention. The social worker might be interested in their communication, but from a more relationship point of view. And our physiotherapist is interested in, their balance and their mobility. But all of those people are working toward the goal of, for example, getting someone back to work. And for me personally, it's really nice to have people to bounce ideas off of and get their perspective from their background and training as well. This is something that I think he's going to enjoy more. I agree.
It's more catered to his culture, so he'll be
good.
happy with that. And it's also at a slower pace too.
Every time we see a patient, we would ask for consent to work with them. And at that time, we would explain to them that we want to do a variety of different assessments to get a sort of baseline of where they are now. And we outline who we would share that information with. So in our case, it's usually their insurer, either their workplace insurance board or their motor vehicle insurance, because that's the person who's paying for their treatment, themselves. So we would always share the information with them and with the members of the team. So we let people know exactly who's going to know the information. I think being client-centered is probably the most important part of what I do to be a good occupational therapist, ensuring that clients are engaged in therapy and that they want to be in therapy. And sometimes that can be an issue with this population. One of the best ways to treat someone is to work on goals that are meaningful to them, that they want to work on. So whenever we have a new client come into our program, we conduct a goal setting interview with the client. So at that time, the client says, these are the 5 or 3 or however many most important things that I want to work on. And so often for clients, it's to return to work or to get their driver's license back or to improve their memory or to improve their relationship with their partner. And we really try to focus our therapy on what is important to the client. The work that we do is very challenging in this area because not all people always respond the same to therapy, but some clients really go from being in a really low level to really getting their life back on track. And it's very rewarding to see that as a therapist. Very good. Awesome.